Welcome to a new video and a new camera comparison. The Vivo X100 Ultra versus the current #1 ranking camera smartphone on my ranking list, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. So let's get started. And we have a sunny day. I'm a bit ill. I have some allergies. This is why I'm not going out too much. But yeah, here we go. We want to check out the specs of those flagships. We have the quadruple lens setup here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra with 50 megapixel, 50 megapixel, 50 megapixel, 50 megapixel. And we have on the Vivo X100 Ultra the two 50 megapixel sensors there. 1-inch type sensor, Leisure 900, the same as on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. A 50 megapixel ultra wide angle, but then 200 megapixel periscope telezoom with a very large sensor, 101.4 inch size. It's a little bit smaller there, the 3x zoom on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra with 101.5 inch size sensor, but probably hopefully also as capable. Periscope zoom 2 times, 2 sensors with periscope zoom on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, quite interesting there as well. Then we have 32 versus 50 megapixel front-facing shooters, and I think we start off with the front-facing videos. 4K 30 front-facing video, 50 megapixel sensor here. How is stabilization? How are the colors here on the Vivo X100 Ultra? And do we have autofocus? It seems like we have autofocus. As you can see, it's focusing nicely on the camera bump of the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, which is quite nice. So what do you think about this one here? I'm in my garden right now. Hopefully you will not hear too much. My daughter and my dog running there in the background. And the cool thing here about this device is if I want to, I can switch during recording to the back-facing camera, something that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra simply doesn't have. So let me show you my little pond that I have here. You can see the little pond, so this is 1x zoom, and if I want to show you some fishes, I can go to 3.7x zoom here, and I don't see any fishes right now, but there in the background. What is this? Let's zoom in. It's a crocodile. No, there we can see the fish, as you can see here. Very nice. And let's go to the 1x zoom, and yeah, let's see how this will work out. This is the 1-inch type sensor, this is the vlogging style, this is the bokeh that you can expect, this is the stabilization, these are the colors that you can expect. Did they fix the colors, especially that I was criticizing on the Vivo X100 Pro a lot, of not being too natural there and a little bit weird looking? How does this look like right now here on the Vivo X100 Ultra? Do you notice any difference? This is the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. It has a wider field of view, does it? 0.8 times, 1x and 2x magnifications are possible here. It has autofocus. So is it focusing nicely here? I think it is. Maybe sometimes it's focusing on the reflection, but I think I saw that size logo there clearly sharp. It's a bit hard to focus on such things. Maybe we focus on the nice display that we have on the Vivo X100 Ultra. This is working, I think, much nicer there. Much more contrasty image. And yeah, what do you think about stabilization, colors and so on? Sadly, I don't have the possibility to switch the lenses to the back-facing lenses. So what I have to do right now is just simply stop recording and then go and switch to the main camera sensors. So this is a pond, 1x. I can of course also zoom out at 4K 30 without any issues. This is the ultra wide angle. I can go to 3x zoom. There you can see the crocodile, and I can go to 6x. And if I want to, I can even zoom in to 10 times. And back to 1x. And now facing me, the 1-inch type sensor, Leisure 900. And how's the background blur here? How is stabilization on this one? How is HDR? How are colors here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra? What do you think about this one here in comparison to the Vivo X100 Ultra? Which one do you prefer in terms of videos, especially when it comes to the colors, the bokeh and the stabilization? Front-facing video, do we see a difference? Yes, we can see clearly a difference. A brighter picture on the Vivo X100 Ultra, a bit of darker picture on the X7 Ultra. The X7 Ultra a little bit more realistic than the X100 Ultra in this case, because the stone of this house looks more towards what the Oppo Find X7 Ultra shows. What we can clearly see is also the Vivo X100 Ultra when you see the movement of the video there. and compare it with here, it's a bit more shaky on the X100 Ultra. Like the stabilization is not as great as on the Find X7 Ultra. Find X7 Ultra, you saw as I zoomed in a little bit, by default has a bit of a wider field of view, 0.8 times instead of 1 times, which is quite what we have on the X100 Ultra. The X100 Ultra has the ace up its sleeve, which is the possibility to switch to the back-facing cameras, and this is something that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra doesn't have. However, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, just like the Vivo X100 Ultra has autofocus, of course, has also the possibility to zoom in 2 times, which is like something the X100 Ultra cannot do. With the main cameras, we can clearly see again the Vivo X100 Ultra, a bit more punchy colors, a bit brighter, where the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is a bit darker, but more realistic in terms of what I saw with my own eyes. So we have a bit of overexposure on the X100 Ultra as well. And when it comes to the zoom shots there, I think both are doing a fine job, and honestly, very, very good. You get a bit closer with the 3.7x on the X100 Ultra towards what the Oppo Find X7 Ultra can do there with its 3x, but it is almost negligible. As you can see, I can zoom in and you can see like the fish. Both are very, very fine when it comes to the zoom shots there. So in video mode, you don't notice so much of a difference between the zooms here, the Vivo X100 Ultra or the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Let's take a look at some photos. On the left was the Vivo X100 Ultra and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra on the right. What we can see here on first glance is the Vivo X100 Ultra by default, with its default punchy color profile, produces a bit more punchy colors than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Of course, you can go to size natural colors on the Vivo X100 Ultra, which will produce a bit more natural colors, but by default you get this more pronounced colors, and what you will see in all shots is that you get a little bit more bluish kind of pictures on the Vivo for sure, and the Oppo has a bit of more warmish tones. You can see it here clearly in the pavement and the shadow there, which is a bit more bluish than the warmish kind of Oppo. When it comes to the HDR, you can see that, maybe slightly bit overexposed on the Find X7 Ultra, but it's just slightly. When it comes to other details here, you can see we are a bit more closed up with the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Why is that the case? Because I accidentally enabled high resolution mode, so it's a 26 megapixel photo instead of the 12 megapixels that you get from the Vivo X100 Ultra. Nevertheless, you can still see the more contrasty kind of look and the little bit more punch in the colors there for sure on the Vivo X100 Ultra. HDR looks fine on both. When we take a look at the 3x shot, this is by the way 12 versus 12. This is 3.7x on the Vivo X100 Ultra, and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra has 3x here. As you can see here, 722 versus 85 millimeters. And when we take a look at the details here, again, a bit more punchy colors on the Vivo X100 Ultra and a bit more over sharpened. It looks a bit sharper there for sure, but it's like, I think a little bit over sharpened. But not too much, as you can see. It still looks very, very natural, and you have lots and lots of details here that you don't have, that you're missing on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Even though the Find X7 Ultra also has a very large lens, the details are a little bit missing. You can also clearly see it in people's face. Everything is like a little bit like blurry, I would say, where here everything is razor sharp, point sharp. And which one would you prefer here in this case with these shots here? Otherwise, the color difference is there for sure. Now we have a bit more contrasty look here with the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. You can see the difference here between the blacks and the whites there. And here it is not so pronounced, I would say, on the Vivo X100 Ultra in comparison to the bit darker exposure that we see on the Find X7 Ultra. Otherwise, pretty similar also. But this is, I think, a real win for the Vivo X100 Ultra. When it comes to the ultra-wide angle, pretty similar here. So I'm quite surprised that the more punchy look we see also on the Find X7 Ultra here, especially with the blue in the sky. But also the rest there, almost, I say, because if you take a look at this here, the brick wall there, it's more realistic on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, where it makes it a bit more warmish, yellowish, kind of orangey looking. On the Find X7 Ultra, though, it's like a brownish kind of color that we have here. Also, I think the lens on the Oppo is slightly better. Look at the detail levels here towards the sides, edges there. By the way, both have the 14mm here. So this is why I'm saying this. It's a bit more grainy as well on the Find X7 Ultra, but in general, we can see definitely that there is a bit more sharpness towards all the edges on the Find X7 Ultra. In the center, we see a white balance difference. Like, I think the white balance is a bit too warmish on the Find X7, on the X100 Ultra. The Find X7 Ultra is a bit cooler and more realistic in this regard. And also, I think in terms of detail levels, they are pretty much on point. Not much of a difference there between those two. What do you think? Selfie with the main cam, 32 megapixels on the Find X7 Ultra, closes up a little bit more than the Vivo X100 Ultra. Pixel bint 12 megapixels, but if I go like and zoom in a little bit more, you can see it's a bit warmer on the Find X7 Ultra, but it's negligible in terms of detail level. Both are doing a fine job, maybe a bit brighter here, a bit more realistic there. In terms of like how good is the cutout for the bokeh there, I think maybe tiny bit better on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Here we have like a bit of the light there still in. And we have f2.8 simulated versus f4 point something. This is why you have a bit more bokeh balls there on the Find X7 Ultra. And in terms of colors, yeah, maybe a tiny difference there, but it's like almost negligible. So I would say in terms of selfies, they're both very good, both feature autofocus, and it's just like a slight color shift towards warmer colors on the Find X7 Ultra. Close-up shots, 10 times shot with both here. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra is then following its 6 times zoom to get this, and the 3.7 times zoom cropped in on the Vivo X100 Ultra. What you can see is a bit slightly overexposed on the Find X7 Ultra. This is why the yellow is like a bit like merging into each other, where here we have like the contrast still going on. It is because the Vivo X100 Ultra has always a little bit high contrast, might be one of the reasons, but in terms of other like detail levels and so on, I think also slightly a bit sharper on the Vivo X100 Ultra. So when it comes to close-ups with 10x. Portrait shots, I think the Vivo X100 Ultra still has to do a little bit more. The king is still the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. This is now a portrait of my dog, but what you can clearly see is like, yeah, it's nice and sharp. Here's definitely a bit of a problem. You can see it like added a little bit of a shadow around my dog for some reason. So the algorithm struggled a little bit there. 10 times shots here. I think this is both 10 times shots now. Yes, 10 times shots on both here. What we can clearly see is that the more contrast here on the Vivo X100 Ultra and the more punchy colors is adding a little bit there to it. But we can also see the Oppo Find X7 Ultra at 10 times is a bit better there. It's a bit clearer here with the text. You can see it's a bit blurry already on the Vivo X100 Ultra. And we can clearly see also here the pictures, the photos on the wall here are a bit clearer on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. The text underneath both doing a fine job in making it readable actually. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra being a tiny bit better. We can see this tiny bit of blurriness there on the Vivo X100 Ultra still. And when it comes to QR code, I think also a bit clearer on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. I have to really test it out, but I think none of those are able to make the QR code readable there. At least I didn't see the option to do this. Let me try. No, it's not possible to read either of those QR codes. And when we zoom in even further, this is now 30 times zoom, it becomes obvious that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra has a better zoom, which is quite interesting. So the processing is quite heavy on the Vivo X100 Ultra, and you can see how much it is doing there. We have a little bit of like a double layer picture there, but it's optimizing it very, very nicely and cleaning everything up. Where the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is having more like of a traditional kind of zoom shot. What you can clearly see is the heavy processing here on this picture, which is like totally heavy processed on the Vivo X100 Ultra. It's trying to make something out of the lack of detail here. And we have, it's a bit blurrier, not so detailed and cleaned up as on the X100 Ultra, but we have lots of more details. Look at the chair there in the foreground, most more detail. Look at the wall there, lots of more details there. Also towards the edges there. So yes, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra with its dedicated 6 times zoom lens wins this shot here for sure. And when it comes to text, I think as well, look at this text, it's like heavily processed, but looking, I don't know, a bit more readable for my taste, or you can read German, for the Find X7 Ultra than for the Vivo X100 Ultra. Then we have a high-res shot on both, 50 megapixel with the Lycia 900 sensor. As you can see, we have f1.8 of f1.8. We have a little bit smaller size here of the JPEG file size. We have the same ISO and almost the same shutter speed, is a little bit slower on the Vivo X100 Ultra. And yeah, what you can get is like a little bit more punchy colors again on the Vivo X100 Ultra, a bit more bluish tone, where the Oppo Find X7 Ultra goes towards the warmer kind of tones. When it comes to detail levels here, 50 megapixels, both very, very similar. It's like almost no difference that you can see. If you go towards the edges, then you can see a nice interesting phenomena that we have a lot of noise with both. And I think that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra keeps a little bit more noise in here, or has a weaker noise algorithms than the Vivo X100 Ultra. As you can see here, it appears to be a bit sharper there, and here a little bit softer as well, which is quite interesting, and a bit more noisier. Look at the stairs there, look at the stairs here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. This is quite interesting that they have like this kind of difference in processing there. And look at this donkey there, and look at here. It looks to me again a bit blurry on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra and a bit sharpened up on the X100 Ultra. I think the X100 Ultra is ultimately winning here with its bigger, with its more contrast added and a bit of more sharpening added. That it sometimes looks a bit unnatural. Look at this here, which looks a bit more better on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, but here on the background, for example, it works in terms of sharpening that they added there to the 50 megapixel shot. So what is your impression so far of those cameras? I think I like them both. They are with main sensor almost on par, with a slight edge maybe going to the X100 Ultra in terms of the 50 megapixel shots. But the Oppo Find X7 Ultra has this high-res mode, 25 megapixel shots that you can directly shoot without like having like to wait for a second to get the shot done. And it is then a bit better than the Vivo X100 Ultra's 12 megapixel shot. And I like the colors, the warmer kind of look on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra a bit better with a little bit less contrast. But on the Vivo, of course, you have the possibility to go to size natural colors, and then you have almost the same kind of processing, even better in terms of natural colors there. And you even have like the possibility to edit this before taking the shot. Even auto mode, you can add the amount of sharpness applied and so on. So overall, on par with the main camera sensor. Zoom is a win for the Vivo X100 Ultra, I think, and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra has, I think, slight edge when it comes to the ultra wide angle. Let's take a look at the portrait shots. These are portrait shots with the 2x magnification on both. For some reason, it is 50 millimeter on the Vivo X100 Ultra and 47 millimeter on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Settings almost the same as you see, not much of a difference there because it's a main camera sensor. When we zoom in, what we can clearly see is like a little bit warmer exposure on the Vivo X100 Ultra, where it's a bit colder on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. I think also the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is a tiny bit sharper here than the Vivo X100 Ultra. But the rest is almost negligible. You can see we have a little bit of more like maybe overexposed areas on my face, where here the Vivo is like the king supreme in terms of HDR and keeps it a little bit down the level there. Pretty good on both. Now let's go to 3x and 3.7x there. You can see this is 85, this is 65 millimeters, and we have f4 on the X100 Ultra, where we have f2.8 here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. So a bit more blurry background on the Find X7 Ultra. In terms of detail levels and sharpness, both doing an excellent job. But if you have to really pixel peep and take a look at here, now we have a little bit better exposure control with a bit warmer look on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, where we have a little bit more for hotspots on the Vivo X100 Ultra, but maybe with a little bit less warm, more natural maybe looking kind of photo there. And in terms of sharpness and details, I think the Vivo X100 Ultra is like really tad sharper there than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, but it's very, very close between those two. And when it comes to the cutouts towards the sides, both doing a fine job. Very, very good on both. Nothing I can complain about. The only thing that I see as a problem eventually is that the cutout here around my arm is perfectly done on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, even leaving a little bit of my hair still in. Maybe there a little bit of issue with the hair, but the Vivo X100 Ultra is like cropping it completely out there and making parts of the arm even blurry, which is, I think, not how it's supposed to be. But this is nitpicking already, as I said. Both excellent, and it depends on which colors you like. I like a little bit. I'm going towards the warmer colors there on the Oppo, but just because I like warmer colors a bit better there when it comes to portraits. But in general, both fantastic when it comes to these kinds of shots. And now we are coming to the 135 millimeter, which is like the 6 times zoom on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, and 100 millimeter on the Vivo X100 Ultra, which is in the maximum for the portrait shots that you can reach there. This is why it's a bit further away. And still excellent. It's the same lens, just cropping in a little bit, and they're doing an excellent job there. Also the cutout is okay. Again, I think sometimes like a bit weird here with the arm already out of focus there. And the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, also with its 6 times lens, a bit weaker than the 3X one, but as you get a bit closer, I think it's quite good as well. So the first time that I'm impressed that another smartphone camera is as good in terms of portraits as the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. That was the King Supreme for portraits right now. So the Vivo X100 Ultra is definitely a strong contender, and sometimes even a bit sharper there. So yeah, slight win for the Vivo X100 Ultra when it comes to the portrait shots for sure. Here, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra still very good, however. So these are the daylight shots. Overall, like I said, Vivo X100 Ultra, slightly better zoom camera, I would say, sometimes, but not always. Like the Oppo Find X7 Ultra wins when it comes to the zoom 10x and beyond, like 30 or 60x. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra is winning for sure. The Vivo X100 Ultra is keeping up and a bit better in the zoom range from up until 100 millimeter, which is like 4 or 5 times roughly. Because we have a better sensor there on the Vivo X100 Ultra. Also in daylight you can see it sometimes with a bit of better sharpness there. And the HDR control, however, I like a bit better on the Oppo. And yeah, this is, I think, everything like compressed together here. So it's very neck to neck there, very hard to tell which one is the winner. I would say in terms of daylight shots, both equally good. Vivo X100 Ultra, a nighttime video, 1-inch type sensor. I'm walking towards the light right now. Internal mics, house stabilization, how are colors here. Standing right under the light here. Let's go across the street. And now the light in the background, how well does it expose on my face? And now let's turn around towards the light. With me in the dark here, what do you think about the quality here of the Vivo X100 Ultra? Oppo Find X7 Ultra, a 1-inch type sensor, nighttime video. I'm walking towards the light. How well does the exposure work? How good is the audio quality using the internal mics? I'm standing right under the light, and let's walk away from the light. Light's now in the background. Let's walk towards the dark. How well is it handling the light situation here? Stabilization. And yeah, what do you think about the quality here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra? Night photos, and this is usually the part where you will show which one has better sensor, better processing, and your better lenses as well. We start off with a totally black room here, and you can see it on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. It is black. This is what I saw with my own eyes, and what the Vivo X100 Ultra is capable of doing is fantastic with its main camera sensor. You can really pull out a little bit more. Why is that the case, however? For some reason, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra decided 1200,000 ISO is the max, where we have 65,000 ISO on the Vivo X100 Ultra. This is why it's a bit brighter, and you can see some elements, and they're surprisingly noise-free as well. So the algorithm is working very strong. The only thing that you might see somewhere is the reflection, I think, of this this little reflection that you can see slightly indicating on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Ultra wide angle, clearly you can see the exaggeration of what I saw with the daylight photos is much cooler and bluer kind of picture on the X100 Ultra, where we have much warmer greenish kind of color on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. And because of the whole scenery being a bit warmer, because we have warm street lights there at night, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is a bit closer to reality what the Vivo X100 Ultra is showing, because the street doesn't look like this. The street looks more like, or look like what the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is photographing here. Ultra wide angle here on both 40mm, and when we zoom in we can clearly see the different approaches in processing. The Vivo X100 Ultra decided to be very aggressive with the processing, so it looks like almost some cars are like repainted there, noise free for sure, and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra keeps a little bit more of the more realistic kind of touch there with, yeah, it's a little bit blurry, it's not 100% sharp everywhere, and detail levels are not exaggerated, there's not too much sharpening applied, as you can see, but look at the tree, for example, it's a bit softer, but looks more realistic. All over the frame, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is the one that I prefer. The Vivo X100 Ultra looks a bit too artificial, a bit too goofy and painted and edited here. Might be because of the default color profile that we have here, which is vibrant, but I think they're overdoing it there with the processing, and it makes this look a little bit worse together with the colors that are a bit too bluish there for sure. The main camera sensor, however, is like, yeah, almost a strike back with the Vivo X100 Ultra, but not in every scenario. It's just like that the HDR is better. As you can see here, the entrance of this house, it's handling the highlights there a bit better on the X100 Ultra. We have occasionally also a little bit of sharpening going on here applied, and a little bit like a more contrasty look as well on the X100 Ultra. But the X7 Ultra is also keeping up there with detail level and with everything else. Colors, again, a bit more punchy on the X100 Ultra. Look at this blue here. This is more realistic on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. On par, I have to say, after examining a little bit more. Yes, HDR is a bit better on the X100 Ultra, but it's negligible. When we come to telezoom, however, there's a big difference, and I was not expecting it to be so big. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra has a large sensor, so it should be quite good. It is quite good, actually, but the Vivo X100 Ultra is beating it, hands down. At this 3.7x zoom, you can clearly see that less noise, better readability for the signs, and all over the place a bit sharper than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra that struggles there a lot. And this gets exaggerated when we zoom in a little further. This is now 10 times zoom, and you clearly see the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is falling apart because it's not using its 6 times telezoom lens. It's just like utilizing the 3x and cropping in, which is not ideal here. You can see much better on the Vivo X100 Ultra, but we can of course go and force the 6x zoom going to master mode. Then the exposure is down a little bit. It's not doing this night processing, but at least you can clearly see it is more noise free than the Vivo X100 Ultra, even though the X100 Ultra is doing heavy processing to get the noise free there. But the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is struggling again a little bit with the HDR because it's master mode. So it doesn't do this multi-processing night photography. Overexposure here, where here you can clearly see it. So yes, at night time, the telezoom on the Vivo X100 Ultra is superior to the tele options on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. If you don't have a tripod, especially Oppo Find X7 Ultra, I would say that 6x with master mode would work a little bit better than the X100 Ultras, cropping from 3.7x for further away zooms. But who's doing this at night at all? Selfies is quite interesting and surprising for me because first of all, both utilize their screens as flash. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra kept the screen a bit more warmish kind of color, where the Vivo X100 Ultra made it completely coolish. This is why you see the difference here in terms of colors as well on my face. Might be a trend also towards what the camera is capturing. But when you take a look at the Vivo X100 Ultra, that at daytime was quite competing with the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. At nighttime, it is falling apart against the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Processing might be bad or worse. The sensor size might be a bit smaller there. Or in general, it's just like a little bit worse off than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra, hands down, is beating the Vivo X100 Ultra when it comes to selfies. This is as clear as the win for the Vivo was when it comes to the tele zoom lens at night. So what do you think about these results? I think it's quite interesting that we see a bit of a different processing for the ultra wide angle, where the Oppo is winning against the Vivo. I was not expecting this so much. Surprised also by the selfies that the Oppo is winning there. The Vivo is winning, however, with the tele lens for sure. The main camera sensor, I would say they're on par. So this brings us to my ranking and conclusion, and as you can see here, TLDR, we have the Oppo Find X7 Ultra with 4.535 points, and we have the Vivo X100 Ultra with the exact same 4.535 points. Even my daughter is amazed by this one. Here, look at this. Main camera photo quality is basically the same. Yes, sometimes the Vivo X100 Ultra wins. I think especially when it comes to the ultra high shots, it is the clear winner here. But the Oppo has its 25 or 26 megapixel high quality mode as well, where it clearly wins against the 12 megapixel shots of the Vivo X100 Ultra. And I think overall the color rendition, by default at least, is a bit better on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Of course, you can tweak it on the X100 Ultra, but yeah, basically practically same sensor here, and all the little differences in processing are negligible because they're configurable between those two. Then when it comes to the ultra wide angle, however, we have a winner here with the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Both don't have the best ultra wide angle. They have a wide field of view, 14 millimeters. Not the widest, I think I saw already wider, but yeah, the sharpness, the detail, the processing is a bit better on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, and this is, I think, a lens difference there, and also, and especially at night, the Vivo is like doing a little bit of over processing. It doesn't look so pleasant, it doesn't look so good, so this is what you can see here in terms of difference. Yeah, the Vivo is winning. However, when it comes to the zoom camera photo quality, with 0.1 points here as well. Why only 0.1 points? Because it is at daylight better than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra at 3 or 3.7x and up until 5 or 6x, but then the Oppo is winning with its 6x and beyond, like 10 times zoom, 30 times zoom, 60 times zoom. Even though the Vivo X100 Ultra is doing lots of processing there, it is not winning in terms of details, and this is what you can clearly see here. This is why the Oppo is not so far behind the Vivo there. At nighttime it changes, however, because mostly the Oppo is using its 3x zoom also for 6x and beyond zooms, which is like simply not competing against the Vivo X100 Ultra in this regard. So the X100 Ultra is clearly winning here, but not by a huge margin, especially also when it comes to the portrait shots. The Oppo is still king supreme here, though the Vivo X100 Ultra is even a little bit better there in terms of portrait shots most of the times when it comes to sharpness and details. In colors, I would give the edge still to the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, especially for the 3x and beyond zoom levels there. So what do you think about those results here when it comes to the photos for all those cameras? The only thing that we are missing here is maybe the front-facing camera, where you can clearly see that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, especially at nighttime, is winning against the Vivo X100 Ultra. The rest is almost negligible. Yes, camera UI, the Vivo X100 Ultra is basically the same as the X100 Pro. Extra features maybe slightly bit better there than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, where the Find X7 Ultra is losing is the camera UI a bit. We don't have a pro mode for video, for example. Such things are a little bit of a downer. So that means we have a new number one and an old number one, because the Oppo Find X7 Ultra and the Vivo X100 Ultra are sharing the top rank on my camera smartphone review board here, as you can see, with 4.535 points. The number two is the Huawei P70 Ultra, that has the same main camera photo quality, has a bit of better ultra wide angle, but it's losing with the zoom camera photos, especially also with the portraits and the video recording quality for sure. The autofocus performance is basically on par. Front-facing camera is better on the Huawei. This is where it like gets a lot of points there, and the rest of the camera UI is a mixed bag, similar to the Oppo or the Vivo X100 Ultra. Why the Vivo X100 Ultra is number one, but put number two here on the ranking, both rank number one. It's an algorithm. I'm not controlling it. It is basically both are number one on the same kind of ranking system here. What do you think about my results here? Do you think that the Vivo X100 Ultra should be scored higher here? What do you think about the ultra wide angle photo quality? Is this fair? Should it be raised a bit more here? Because if I raise it here, then we would have a new number one. But for now, I think especially at low light, the Vivo X100 Ultra is simply a little bit too weak against the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. What do you think about this? Write it down in the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And until the next time, bye.